Live from Town Square Towers at the heart of the Jersey Shore. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. Get up, get out, do something. Join the conversation. 732-505-1160. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Listen online at WOBMAM.com.
Hey, welcome back. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. 6:09, Friday, June 10th. 55 degrees. Get up to 77 today. WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. News Talk Radio. Streaming live on the Radio Pup app and WOBMAM.com. 732-505-1160 to join the conversation. And before we start talking to our next guest, I just want to warn the listening audience that I am way over my head on this. I'm going to sound so dumb over the next 40 minutes. So buckle up, be ready, and mock away. And it'll be available on YouTube in perpetuity. So there we go. We are joined by Corrine, Brendan, and Angela. They are talking to us today about a project they are working on, and a documentary really revolving around the Barnegat Bay, and most importantly, the oyster, right? The oyster farming. Mm-hmm. So, who wants to talk to me a little bit? Give me like kind of the 30,000 feet overview of the project.
I guess that would be me.
Okay.
And this is Corrine. The overview is you sit in front of a plate of oysters, you're at happy hour, you're enjoying yourself, you're chit-chatting, you're looking at these beautiful oysters in front of you, and you probably have no idea where they came from, maybe what type they are, but not where they came from and what they went through in the last 2 years to arrive to that really pretty plate of ice. And you slurp it down in less than 15 seconds. And you're slurping down an entire ecosystem in that time.
Delicious.
And and you are basically, the great part about it is that it took 2 years to get there, and it was cultivated by some incredible people who are called oyster farmers.
Okay.
We don't really have any natural or wild oysters anymore that are arriving to any plates like we used to. Over about 50 years ago, the last of the population went away. And so oyster farmers are coming back, and they're coming back to the Barnegat Bay, which is amazing and wonderful as far as a cultural resurgence and working on sustainability for seafood. And for us, we're excited to tell this story because they're actual farmers, which people, right. When you say the word oyster farmer...
They're not wearing overalls, though, right?
They are wearing overalls.
They wear overalls?
They're made of rubber.
They're made of rubber.
Overalls.
Guess what, Jeremy? They're not in tractors. They're in boats.
Gotcha.
And they work at the field, but the field is subaqueous, and so it's a whole thing.
Did you just say subaqueous?
Let's go there. Let's go there. I've been hanging around Angela too long with her environmental lingo.
Subaqueous. Oh my God. Yeah. Okay, so are you telling me right now that we have an issue as far as we don't have oysters in the bay? Is that where we're at, or where are we?
Let's let Angela answer.
Angela,
yes.
Why don't we let you answer?
Sure. Yes, we actually do have oysters in the bay, which I think many people are surprised by.
Okay.
And it's because of the consistent effort by people like the oyster farmers, like some of the very minimal amount of multi-generation families in the southern part of the bay that have continued to try to maintain that culture for us. So down in the southern part off of Long Beach Island, where we're all from in that area, that's where we're seeing a lot more of the oysters, and there are in the bay, and they're sold in restaurants in Ocean County, and you eat them, and they're called all different things, but they come right from our bay. And I think a lot of people are very surprised to know that they can actually go to a restaurant and get an oyster from Barnegat Bay, and we want to focus on that skill and that very, very unique niche.
So what do you do to that end? Do you set up like mixers? I mean, do they have parties and you kind of like get the male oyster and the female oyster together to create more oysters? I mean, how do you put more oysters in the bay?
Well, we like to say what we want to get out of this film is we want to give spat a chance. And oyster
I think I lost him.
Was that oyster humor? Yes. I mean, I'm just. Could you maybe break it down for those of us that may have had that go over our head?
I don't know how much I can go into what spat is, but I think you can figure
Is it like dirty in the world of oyster? Okay.
But spat needs a hard surface to land on so that new oysters can grow. And back in the old days, there was a circle of life that happened in the bay, and we are helping to facilitate that natural cycle, because without a hard surface for that spat, that microscopic spat in the water column,
I get it. I'm looking. I
Google searching it now.
The Google images are exciting. Hope my wife is listening. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got lost on that one.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw you off there.
No,
so
that's fine. So when you have the hard surface, what we want to see come out of our film project is if we get hard surface back in the bay and we get oysters producing spat in the bay, then we give it a chance to be able to come back and thrive as a culture and as an industry here for farm to table right in our backyard.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's what you talk about by putting a shell in the bay. Mm-hmm. So it's actually like a hard shell, which allows. Got it.
Yeah, but actually, and we are talking about that because that's a component of it. But the film title is called The Oyster Farmers, and so what we're doing and what we're presenting to the audience is a chance to see, a few days in the life of oyster farmers who actually. Purchase seed, which is it's about the size of your pinky nail, and it's just a tiny little baby oyster, and they buy them in millions of them.
Right.
They bring them up, they put them in these cages, and I like to think of them as like a little bit like think of it. They put them in the cages, and then because they love algae, and our bay has a lot of algae, yummy algae, they eat the algae, they grow plump and juicy and beautiful. They have a gorgeous shell. One of our oyster farmers is from 40 North Oyster Farms, Matt Gregg. And basically, it's a cultured boutique oyster that takes in the flavors and the essence of where it grows. And so they grow for about 2 years.
Okay.
They are basically hand-touched. They move them from cage to cage. And because of the way the wind, the water, the tides, all the elements, the salinity in which they grow, that's what creates this beautiful product. And because Barnegat Bay was the epicenter, I can't scream it enough, the epicenter for oysters, naturally occurring oysters, that's why they're thriving in the bay right now. And that's why we'd like to see more oyster farmers return to the bay, and which is going to be a beautiful economic boom. It's going to be a cultural boom. And we have a 100-year-old family business down in Tuckerton. And Dale Parsons Jr., his entire life, he's in his 30s, but his entire life, he's worked the bay. And so has his father. And you might know them because they had all the clams that went into Campbell's soup for all those years. That's the family that brought them there.
Cool.
And so he's still working there.
All right, so we're up against a break. And so what we like to do is we really like to usually tease something into the next so people like to pay attention and they come back and listen to us again. And so I'm really excited about this because I was struggling. I'm like, what am I going to tease? Because I feel like I'm trying to catch up here. I'm trying to catch up. I want to know more. But our tease here is going to be in the next segment. Maybe Brendan will say something. So stay tuned. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. We'll see if Brendan actually does talk or just laughs a lot. Back after this.
No problem. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin wherever you go. Download the Radio Pup app for your smartphone or tablet. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Make a difference at the Jersey Shore. 732-505-1160. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160, 1310, and WOBMAM.com.
Okay, welcome back. Wake up with Jeremy Grunin. We're here with Corrine, Brendan, and Angela. We are talking about their film about oyster farmers. Right. So tell me what inspired you to go to kind of want to go tell this story though? I mean, was it just because you have concern for the bay, you want to do the right thing here, or what is it?
I'd say, yeah, initially, when I dreamed up this idea about 3 years ago, I actually didn't even know there were oysters in the Barnegat Bay a long time ago, and I lived and grew up right on the Barnegat Bay my entire life. And so when I discovered that, I was really excited about it, and I thought, wow, I know I've clammed in the bay with my father, I've swam in the bay, all kinds of connections to the bay. And so I got really excited about oysters. And so over the last 3 years, I did a little research and found out that, of course, oysters they're gone in the bay, but they're coming back through oyster aquaculture, and I thought it was a great story. I got really excited about it. We've all grown up on the bay. We're very passionate about it. We're very big proponents of volunteering, supporting the community, each in our own individual lives, do all kinds of things that are connected to that. But probably the most powerful thing we feel is telling a story visually through the art of filmmaking, which reaches a huge audience, not just our local audience here in Ocean County, but it just has the film actually has a really beautiful global reach. And that's the reason we wanted to tell the story, because it represents, as Angela says, an estuary anywhere on the planet. I think Brandon should talk, though. Let's hear from him.
I just signed on to this project a few weeks ago.
Okay.
So these ladies have been
Lucky guy.
working.
Clearly adding value.
It's a silent partner.
Right.
Right? Dead in the center
He's
here.
going to work the magic. Though.
So I'm the production partner. I own a company in Tuckerton called Oakleaf Media. And we signed on because what drew me to this story initially was this imagery that apparently the Hudson Bay was crystal clear. And all of these major waterways were crystal clear when settlers came here, and that was because of oysters. And there was this massive culture in like the 30s and 40s that just over-farmed, overfished, and the waterways and everything was destroyed. And I'm pretty sure we talked about this thing. They dumped 1 billion oysters like last year, right, into New York Harbor to try to bring it back. I don't know if a ton of oysters being dumped could ever save the planet, but it felt like there's a possibility here that this is some kind of global impact thing that's happening around the corner from me.
Okay. So it resonated with you, and oh, by the way, you do this kind of for a living, so you're like, oh, it's a good mix.
But half and half,
Yeah, that's cool. All right, good. Well, it's good. You know, I will tell you, Brendan, it's rare that we tease something and then it becomes, really comes to fruition in such a big way. So that was great. Thank you.
That's my fruit to you today.
That was strong.
He delivers.
That was really strong. Okay, so let's go to. What does the process look like now? So you have a vision, and so Kareen, you do, this is what you do. Like, you've done a number of other films, right?
Actually, I just kind of fell into it because I felt again, back to the social responsibility and what can I do as one person. By trade, I'm an airline pilot.
Right.
And,
which is a natural progression to then making a film
well,
about
you know what?
oysters.
If you think of it, you're looking through the glare shield,
Oyster
through
farming.
the front window of the airplane all
Right.
over the world,
Right.
and you see cultures, and you see people, and you see things, and you're inundated with all these beautiful images, and you just wish you could plug your eyeballs in and record it for your family and friends so they could see it. So just going through life and seeing all these amazing things, I've always brought whatever I've learned, whatever I've seen, back to where I live. And so after Hurricane or Superstorm Sandy, I was moved to make a film, and I set up the team, created and wrote the story along with the Jetty Rock Foundation, which is a great foundation down in where we are, and basically just fell in love with the art of filmmaking.
Right.
Telling the story, captivating the audience, having them get up after seeing the film with a message that was clearly in their head and heart that moved them to action. And that's why I love it. And
Right.
so, this is my second one, and I'd probably be one of 100.
and you were saying so. And the amazing thing is here, there are only 12 oyster farmers in the state, right?
Yep.
And so this kind of tells their story and kind of what they're doing, and so
Right.
that's pretty cool. So when we come back, what I really like to focus on is what your process is, and by that I mean, so we understand what the project is, we understand why it's important, we've kind of established, oyster farming and that whole thing. What we haven't established is where you are in the process and kind of the independent filmmaking piece, right? Because that's not easy, right? That's because you need like money, I think. Right? So it got everything
I vote
else,
NEY.
but the money thing becomes a problem. Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. We are talking oyster farming, and yeah. So we'll be back after the news. Stay tuned.
Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Live from the Jersey Shore to the world. Get up, get out, do something. Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. Take the show wherever you go. Download the free Radio Pup app for your smartphone or tablet. Join the conversation. 732-505-1160. News Talk Radio WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. Listen online at WOBMAM.com.
Hey, welcome back. Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. It is 6:32, Friday, June 10th, 55 degrees. Get up to 77 today. WOBM AM 1160 and 1310. News Talk Radio. Streaming live on the Radio Pup app and WOBMAM.com. 732-505-1160 to join the conversation. And if you want to join the conversation now, we're talking to Corrine, Brendan, and Angela. We're talking about oyster farming and their project. And so we were talking a little bit in the break. So what is like a project like this in totality kind of cost to put together?
We'll let Brandon talk about that.
Oh, great.
Yeah, this is a super low budget indie film, and production and post is probably budgeted around $80,000.
Okay.
That's a very small number to get a feature film in this industry, but for something that's independent, it's a lot of money to raise. You know, when you're poking under rugs and corners, asking people for $100 at a pop. But that covers the cost of a crew, audio, camera equipment, and then post-production is a big thing on a documentary like this because you're not really sure what you're going to go into the room to cut, and it's hours and hours, days.
So where we are currently is that there's a vision, right? We have a vision, and we have like you have it all laid out, but you haven't filmed any. Have you filmed anything yet?
We filmed just a few days for our trailer and for our promo for the campaign that we're in currently for
Gotcha.
Seed and Spark. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay, so we've started the process, but this is really the other part of the story here, which is what it takes to bring a vision to fruition. Because it's great to have an idea, it's great to have a cause, it's great to put the team together. And then there's that always, annoying piece, which is how do we fund it, right? So that's what you're working on really now, and so there are some very clear partners here when we look at the Barnegat Bay fountain, the Barnegat Bay partnership, with Ocean County College being their overarching entity, Ocean County Culture and Heritage, but there's a lot of I know you have a lot of folks down in the southern part of the county that this is what they're all about. Of course, most of these are nonprofits, and we understand that means they don't have a lot of dollars to necessarily put towards something. But I guess what I'm hearing is that if this all goes well and goes right, then you hope it is the impetus for kind of re-energizing an industry that has kind of been laid dormant for a while here at the Jersey Shore, right?
Oh my gosh, how'd you get all that?
That's it.
You're awesome.
See?
Right,
You
look.
picked
See, I
up
did
all
figure
of that.
Took
You figured like gosh.
27 minutes.
You got
That's all it
amazing.
takes. Elevator pitch.
All right, cool.
I think we're gonna have to add him to the team, kids.
Good, right. Just put me as a credit. Okay. So let's do the next part, which is our selfish, self-serving part, which is we give you the Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin magic wand, the pixie dust, the fairy dust, the ability to just wiggle your nose and make something happen. And no, you can't just raise $80,000 by wiggling your nose. That doesn't work. But what would you do to make an impact on the world, to make a change, to do something? I know you guys aren't often thinking about how you could change the world, so I'm sure you don't. I'm sure you struggle for answers with this, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll start with the man of few words. Brendan, what do you got?
How could I change the world?
Yeah, what would you do with your magic wand?
My magic wand would change people's perspective.
Okay.
So it's the person walking down the street, the old lady with 60 cats that lives above the Chinese restaurant. There's a story to every, I know this lady.
Why are you going so why does it have to be cats in Chinese restaurant? That's the question.
Okay, so she has 100 birds and she lives below, a Thai food place.
Come on,
but it doesn't matter. She has a story. Everyone has that story.
Right.
And that's what I try to do with my career is change your perspective on what you might think about somebody.
Gotcha.
That's my wand.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, very deep. That was good.
And make a ton of money.
That's the dirty little secret. Angela.
I would have to say I would my magic wand would just have people pay attention. Just pay attention to the people around you and the community around you, and build each other up. That's what I would want to see that every day, because everybody's trying to achieve something every day. I love your motto. Get out, get up, do something. I don't think enough of us do that. And every day we have a chance to build each other up and elevate our community. And I would just want people to maybe take their eyes off of their cell phone while they're walking and say hi.
Oh, what was that? You're done? Sorry, it wasn't.
He was on his cell phone.
See what I did there? Karine, how about you?
I would say I would love for more people, to act on their visions. I think a lot of people have an idea, they get excited about it, they tell people about it, and then they fail to act. They fail to push play on what they want to do. And it could be for a variety of reasons. They feel like, oh, maybe I'm not the person that should be doing this, or maybe, and all of these things start circling in their head, which kind of hold them back from taking that really next big step, is just moving forward and doing something towards that goal, something towards whatever that vision is that you have. And eventually you'll run, you'll crawl, you'll be on your hands and knees getting to that finish line. But I can tell you through my life, I've had great parents, great friends, great teachers, great mentors, and action is what gets things done. We're smart, we have things to do, but you really need to act. And whether that's something in your community, being a volunteer, whether it's an idea you have for a business, whether it's whatever it is, just really think about acting on that, and don't be afraid. It never, never, never is wrong when you follow your heart.
So no paralysis of analysis. Just go do something,
That's
right?
Do it.
So one more question for you specifically, Karine. Social entrepreneur. Define that for me.
What I do is for my community, I started something called the Bridge Walk, and I have 5 schools involved. It's coming into our 7th year. And what I do is I spend a lot of time, energy, and my own money creating different events. And so the Bridge Walk is one of those events, and it brings the 5 schools together. We raise money. I work with Melanie Magaziner from Old Causeway and all the 5 schools in our area, and basically raise money for those schools. And so that was one project. And then a couple years ago, when I got excited about these oysters, I started something called the Shellfish Soiree. And what that is like a little gala where we talk about shellfish, and we educate and we edutain the people who come in who want to have beautiful oysters and wine, and they walk out with great information about how they can help with the environment and what they've just learned. Just a really fun experience. Same thing with Landfall, which was the documentary that I did. All the stuff took time, effort, energy, but it was something that I thought would have a greater. It was for the greater good, and it's basically coming up with an idea, and acting on the idea, and the idea works for the greater good.
That's a social entrepreneur.
That's my definition of a social entrepreneur.
Okay. All right, cool. Where could folks go to learn more about this project? What if they want to go help? What if they want to contribute? Most importantly, what do they do?
Well, our fiscal sponsor for our project for the Oyster Farmers film is the Jetty Rock Foundation. And they are based out of Manahawkin, out of the Jetty brand, and they have a great social entrepreneur business model, and we felt they were a perfect match for this film. They give back to the community through the lifestyle and apparel that they create for all generations, and so the Jetty Rock Foundation. It will be our fiscal sponsor. So any donation that's made to this film production is through them and can be a tax deduction. And we do have a Facebook page, the Oyster Farmers. We would love people to go check it out. And we have our campaign is through what's called Seed and Spark right now. And we want people to join us in the campaign to tell this story. So through Seed and Spark, we build our audience and we build a community. And we would love people to go to our Seed and Spark page off of our Facebook page to follow this campaign, because the more followers we get, the more we build our community around the story, and the more we define our audience and who we're telling the story to, and the more story we can tell, because it leads us into more than just the oyster farmers. We're going to follow the shell, the more people we get to join with us. So Jetty Rock Foundation, Seed and Spark on the Oyster Farmers Facebook page.
Cool. Yeah, and so the easiest one is through the Oyster Farmers Facebook page, which I'm just checking out if you want to see some really great pictures of oysters. Right? And I think I just look at these and I suddenly start to feel amorous. I don't know why. Zach, you look very nice today.
Thank you.
All right, cool. I don't know what it is. It's all right. Corrine, Brendan, Angela, thank you so much for spending some time and for your patience in trying to educate me on oyster farming. It's good that I always say it's like we're like the U.S. Army here. We learn more before 7 a.m. than most people. Anyway, that's what I got. Wake Up with Jeremy Grunin. Back after this.